Yeah, it was 70,000 rand a year.
That's like more than varsity fees.
Yes, that was our shock. But we were new parents and we were excited. If you're not prepared, parenting will dribble you. We forfeited that, 30, almost 30K. Hello, welcome back to the channel. I am Yolz, and today I am not alone. We are talking all things cost of parenting in 2025 with Aisha. Now, you might know her. If you don't, have a look at my channel, have a look at her channel. She's all up in here, and I'm going to let her actually do her own intro.
Okay.
Go ahead, honey.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. Hi, everyone. I am Aisha O'Reilly, and I am a full-time content creator, mom of 3, wife to 1, and a creative entrepreneur. So I talk about motherhood mostly from the perspective of me as a mom, the hardships, the wins, all of that. And I'm very, very honest in my journey, lifestyle, and just being a woman, mental health, all of that.
Yes, and we go all the way back to 2014, 2015, natural hair days.
Natural
before
hair
we were moms.
days,
Imagine.
yeah.
And now we're talking about the most expensive journey of our lives.
And
it's forever.
Forever, and it just gets more and more expensive the older they get.
But you know what? You are literally watching how to also manage this, because we wouldn't actually change it for anything in the world. And we've actually partnered with Sanlam Credit Solutions today, talking about how to better manage the cost of life, the cost of parenting, of wife life, of all things that we are currently going through.
Yep.
So definitely have a look at the description box if you need a budgeting tool that's going to help you your life in place. Otherwise, let me know in the comment section if you're a parent or you are costing your parent. Honey, I need to know. Okay. Don't forget to subscribe to both our channels if you haven't already. I will link Aisha's channel in the description box as well. Hey there. It's Yolz's channel. The fact that parenting and the cost of parenting starts before you even give birth is a crazy concept to me. How did you even get your foot in the door?
Wow. Honestly, it really blindsided us when it came to all of the expenses, because the only thing that we really prepared for was the doctor's visits.
Oh, the gynae appointments.
Yes.
Whether you've got medical aid or you don't, you still
gotta
gotta pay.
You still have to pay. So I think for us, we're like, okay, we have an idea, and our doctor thankfully gave us a list of when we need to come see him and about how much he was gonna charge us. So we were able to plan for those. The thing that really blindsided us though was the prep for the baby. And a lot of the times, you have the whole baby shower thing and, this and this and this, but there's a lot of things that the baby shower gifts don't cover.
Yep.
So, and it's kind of like what a lot of my friends call the boring stuff, but that boring stuff is still necessary.
Also,
and it costs money.
Girl.
It costs money. And it just kind of keeps adding up and adding up. And so whenever we budgeted for, whatever it was, a cot or, this kind of mattress and this and that, there was always something else. This mattress protector, and there's, what do you call them? Security gates when they become toddlers, and. So the list just keeps sort of increasing.
Yeah, I remember even having to buy those pregnancy pillows.
Yes.
And it was closer to the due date. He was very comfortable there. I gave birth after 41 weeks.
Yeah.
So the cost kept on I was like, how is this getting more expensive and yet the due date is almost around the corner? Why am I still paying for this?
Yeah, and those are things that you don't know.
No.
That you might need or that, that you would like, some things that you like, but even just the necessities list, it feels endless.
Did you swim? Did you drown? Did you survive?
We survived. We kept our heads above water. And to be totally honest, that phrase is what I use to describe my parenting journey in general.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We're just keeping our heads above water because you can never be completely prepared for it. There's always these costs that people don't talk about. The responsibilities and other things that you have to factor in as it's happening.
Yeah.
Pay
as you go.
Yeah, it is pay as you go. It is literally pay as you go.
Family planning is crucial. But more than anything, you need to have that emergency account on lock, because if you're not prepared, parenting will dribble you. It almost dribbled us because we thought we were sorted with our medical aid.
Right.
In fact, we thought we could get a private room on our own. With the medical aid plan that we were. When I looked at the numbers, I ended up sharing with somebody. Thankfully, I could sleep. And I think for 2 days, the first night she came, she was screaming the whole night.
Oh, shame.
That was the cost of my first night. Quite literally. Second night, she was fine, and then she left, and I had the room to myself. But I promise you, peace of mind is costly as well. So if you think this is just like we're playing about 2,000, 3,000, no. For me, giving birth naturally was going to cost me 11,000 rand. And just to give you a picture, the C-section costed me 22,000 rand, exactly double. And then on top of that, I still had to pay for the physio and all the other medication that comes with, post-op care.
Right.
And I stayed another day. I stayed an extra day in hospital, which is also another cost. So literally, if you are planning to give birth, even if you're planning to give birth naturally, these things happen. Double your budget, girl. I wish it was easy. I wish there was somewhere where we could get this money. But you need to actually almost literally plan for double whatever you're thinking the cost would be, or whatever quotations you already have.
That's a really good tip. And exactly what you were saying, because a lot of the times as moms, especially with the first child, you have this plan. You're planning, how
Aisha,
you're going to give birth and things. And I'm glad you mentioned the whole, natural, and then there's also Caesar, because a lot of moms, we we hope that we are going to give birth a certain way, but sometimes it doesn't happen that way. And that happened with you, that happened with me, especially with my third child. Not to go into details, but with my third child, I stayed in ICU for 2 extra nights, and then I was also in maternity ward for 3 extra nights. So even though we had an idea that it will probably take us about maybe 3 days, to be there postpartum, things happen. And yes, you have medical aid, but exactly that, medical aid doesn't cover everything. And so all of the extra services, it's a service. All of those extra services, all of the extra nights that you have to stay there, the medication, the tests, the what's, the blood transfusions, all of that, it costs money. And so if you don't have that available, it can, exactly what you were saying, it can drown you.
It can literally drown you. And the thing is, this is one of the most precious moments of your life, and you don't want to be thinking about the money.
Thinking about that stuff.
No.
But it's very real.
So rather prepare so that you can avoid the heartache of going through whatever pain you may be going through with a natural or C-section or emergency, and then the cost, because unfortunately they're going to still give you the bill before you leave the hospital. Sadly. Then chiggy, these little ones start crawling. The medical expenses don't stop after giving birth. These little ones not only get hurt all the time. Every now and then I'm at the pharmacy picking up stuff, but they get sick all the time.
They're in creche for the first 2 weeks. They're at home sick the next 2 weeks.
With the rest of us.
It's just and you just take turns. A tip we swear by now. The first child, at first you want to do everything right. You want to go buy the book. And when the doctor says you need to buy this medication, buy that medication. Generics work just fine. And they are a fraction of the price. So obviously just make sure that speak to your pediatrician, whoever it is that is treating your child, but ask them, is it okay for my child to use a generic medication? Or ask the pharmacist as well. We have cut so many costs that way.
Really?
Yeah. Because, a lot of the times the generic is maybe, I'll just use it as an example, maybe 100 rand, whereas the actual, prescribed medications maybe 400.
And I never look at that.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant tip. So actually have a look and ask to your pharmacist.
Is there a generic? Is it as effective? Yes? No? Because the pharmacists, that's what they do. They know this stuff.
6 years of doing this, and I've never done that.
Really?
Yeah, I just hand over the prescription, and that's it.
Yeah. Because otherwise it gets in just so expensive. It's incredibly expensive.
Medication is expensive.
Yeah.
And then it's creche. Nobody told me that creche, the first quotation I got was 70,000 rand, and my child was 70,000 for the creche. We thought, remember, ideal. This wasn't no, because we were young.
But 70
and it was our first
per what?
year. Yeah, it was 70,000 rand a year.
That's like more than varsity fees.
Yes, that was our shock. But we were new parents and we were excited. And you know what we did? Faith stayed home.
Yeah.
Who was going to pay for that?
Yeah.
We said, he's only 18 months. We work from home. Let us plan it out properly so that when we do actually have to send him to school, we can afford to keep him in the school that we choose.
Because that's something, and I love that you touched on that, because you don't want to start off on a high.
No.
And then for whatever reason, times are hard or whatever it is, or even now, like what happened with us, we had another child. And that's very realistic.
Yeah.
If you are planning on expanding your family, you also need to take into consideration how many children are you actually planning on having?
Yeah.
Are you going to be able to spread that money across the different children equally?
You'd like to, and ideally it would be great, but can you? And reality hits you so quickly because you pay a registration fee up front. I literally went to open my spreadsheet and I said, babes, we work from home. Can Faisy be at home?
Yeah.
Can we get a stay-in nanny? Initially, we thought stay-in, and then actually she ended up living closer, walking distance.
Yeah.
And that's how we managed the first 4 years of Faisy. Faisy actually started school at age 4, and we were ready. Got him a school, which was about 70K. But we could afford it.
Yeah, you could afford it.
Yeah, great art.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Yeah.
And then we were very prepared. We paid school fees up front because we were those parents. But then we couldn't get it back when we traveled. Fezzi did not finish grade RR.
Wait, so how many months did you have to forfeit?
We had to forfeit. Only told them, in August. And Fezzi had to leave school in September. We were traveling through Africa, 2023.
Yeah, I remember,
And we forfeited that, 30, almost 30K. Yeah, 25K. They told us we can't give you the money back because it was too short notice. The term is about to end, and then it's the final term.
Right.
But you know what? At least we had saved for it. It was one of those costs where at least we were prepared.
Yeah.
Rather that than him having to leave school because we don't have enough.
You don't have enough.
Yeah. And then how did you deal with your son's first year of school ever?
Okay, so my oldest now, he's 8 years old. So we sent him when he was 1.5 years old to preschool.
Aisha.
Yeah, we had to. You know what? At that point, I wasn't self-employed yet. And so I had a 9 to 5, traditional, going into work and things like that. So it just wasn't realistic to keep him at home. So what we did was, up until he was 1.5 years old, we had like a nanny, and she helped, while I went back to work after maternity leave was over and things like that. And then he just got to he reached a ceiling. And that's subsequently happened with all of my kids. They reach a ceiling where, sort of staying at home is just not helpful. It's not stimulating enough for them. So rather, send them to school, get socialized and things like that. So how we figured for that was that my husband and I, we combined finances. And so he was able to say, okay, I can put X amount into like an extra fund for Kai, for his school fees, for any clothing and things like that. And then I was able to say, okay, I can top up the rest.
Amazing.
So that's how we figured it out. So his school fees, from what I remember, because he's in a different school now, but they really weren't too hectic.
I wish I dialed you because you went through this first.
I did.
You speak about managing your finances with your hubby. How does that work? Do you guys budget together?
Yes.
Have you tried the Sanlam credit solutions?
We have used the budgeting tool, but I particularly on my own as an individual, I use the dashboard quite often.
Lovely.
Especially when it comes to like credit scores. That was really helpful.
Super, super helpful.
Really helpful. And also like they share really nice tips if in case you're sort of like not so confident in your money, handling skills and things like that, and how to increase your credit score. They give you, some really great, easy, very user-friendly like pointers on how to actually do that. So I do use that to sort of, keep track of,
hey girl,
how am I doing, and what can I do to sort of improve my situation. So we budget together, my husband and I. We have weekly meetings when things are like every week without fail. Yeah.
Okay, ours is every like 2 weeks, monthly.
Yes.
Sometimes it's like a month, but then it's like, oh, we need to catch up.
Yes, exactly. So we've figured out, because we used to do it every once in a while. Years ago, we used to do, let's just touch base. But then we found that we were just like, when we don't touch base, exactly what you're saying, there's a lot to catch up, but then also he spends something and then I spend something without knowing that he spent something, and then he spends more without, and so when we don't have that sort of conversation, we end up overspending a lot.
I agree.
Whether it's in our own individual, account, or it's the family, household account, we end up buying or we end up spending more on things. So when we touch base weekly, our money is...
I can see your face. It's a sweet spot.
And it's nice because it's like, we were within budget. Hey. How are we doing with groceries? Oh, we're within budget. We've got 2 weeks left of the month. Okay, awesome. And then we keep at it. But if we slip, then we start seeing that those habits
the thing is, in hindsight, every time you look back, you're like, oh, we should have. And
exactly.
you'd rather actually keep up and be like, okay, what is happening? And it's happened to us so many times. We've bought double stuff.
See?
Unnecessarily, because we did not check in.
Yeah.
And I completely get you.
Yeah.
I think the common sentiment, though, is how do you start those conversations in the household? Because, yes, we know there's groceries and we know there's childcare costs and school costs. But how do you have that in an environment where we both feel safe to have this conversation as partners, especially like me and you, we were married young, and before it wasn't a big deal until these kids, until there's more expenses, you know? Yeah. So how did you guys do it?
You know what though, for us, and I don't know if it's one of those things that, because when I've spoken to some of my friends and things like that, they're like, oh wow, you guys spoke early. We started speaking about money from the get-go.
Well done.
Yeah. So it wasn't something that only started when we got married and when we started having kids. We started since we were dating.
Love that.
So we've always been open about it. And the thing is, now I'm able to actually confidently say that this is my life partner, right? So if he's my life partner...
Love that.
I need to be able to talk to him about everything.
Absolutely.
And money is a huge thing. If we are building together, we're building a family, we're building a home, we should be able to talk about money, because how else are we able to achieve any of those goals without being honest about it? So we talked about money from the beginning. And so by the time we did get married and we started having our children and things like that, it wasn't such a weird conversation to have, because it was just a continuation of the conversation, right? So I think if I could give any advice to anybody out there who is in a serious relationship, maybe you're not married yet, definitely start as soon as possible to understand how your partner views money. How do they think, money works? How do they like to save for a rainy day? How do they like to spend? What do they think is important to spend on? Because everybody's different. Yeah. Right? Everybody has different sort of values when it comes to money. Everyone has different habits when it comes to money. And then, but especially before you have kids, I think that's a conversation you need to lock down before the kids come.
Because unfortunately, you're going to be forced to face that conversation when kids come. In fact, when you are married as a unit, you are forced to face finances together. And there's after school, after grade 12, higher learning.
Yes.
Higher education planning.
And it's going to come quickly, hey?
Yeah. When do you start? I felt like I started late at the age of 5.
Yeah.
Talking to my financial planner, and I'm like, were we supposed to start when he was born? She's like, actually, when you were still pregnant. I already feel late, ne? But imagine.
Now I feel late.
Trust me, we still catching up. So we started late. But at the same time, the best time is now.
Yeah.
That's what I believe.
Yeah.
As long as you put something behind, like something, just start. Because if you don't, the cost will rack up. And the kind of kids that we are raising today are smart. They may be eligible for like sponsorships and all of those. But if they're not, I would not want to deny my son the education that he wants, whatever that is, whether in the country or outside. And I don't want it to be in hindsight, I could have.
Yes. Yeah.
So rather make the small sacrifices
very
now.
Small.
Like just a little bit every month, 500 rand every month. And that's literally how we started.
Helps.
It does.
It really helps. And if you are able to, because it's one of those things, it's easy to say, oh, but we don't really have 500 rand here to spend on investing in, in the kids' future right now. Let's wait until, 3-4 years down the line when my salary increases, etc. But if you're able to cut back on certain costs, for example, like the medication tip,
exactly.
Right? If you're able to save 300 rand here, 200 rand there's your 500
rand. Yeah, even takeaways. Yeah.
What have you done? Like, what kind of sort of investment fund have you?
Just a simple savings.
Yeah.
So initially we were looking at. He does have a tax-free investment account.
Yeah.
But we don't want him to use it at 18.
Gotcha.
Initially we thought that would be like for his education.
Thing,
and then we're like, no, we want him to have a choice at 25. So he's got a tax-free investment account and he's got a savings account, and then we've opened a school fees account as well.
Nice.
So there we literally put whatever.
Yeah.
Including extramurals.
Yeah.
Because we realized the bill at the end of the month racks up, and we were literally almost behind going into this year. So what we did was just open a school fees one, and that's separate, and then the future school fees.
Oh, nice. So we don't have a separate like school fees for current. Yeah, so for us, we also have like the tax-free savings account as well. But I like that idea of having like a separate school fees savings account for like the current. That's a good idea.
I think the thing is, nobody tells you upfront that there's a cost to your child being talented, or your child being interested in a specific sport or music or chess, anything. Even after you've paid for everything, there's transport costs to take them to certain things and to certain places on certain days. So the costs just keep going up. But again, I say manage your finances, and if you can't, girl, have you ever reached out to like a credit facility trying to get help from other things on your side for school expenses?
For school, to be honest, I haven't, but I know that they are available. So that always brings me a bit of comfort. And that's a huge reason why I want to get my credit score to like a healthy number. You know what I mean? Because that way, at least I can, sort of get credit or better credit. If my credit score is higher, so that in case of a rainy day like that, I can tap into that kind of resource.
And if your credit needs a bit of repairing, whether it's from a health perspective, credit report, credit starting, you need some tips in that area, definitely check out the link in the description box to the Sanlam Credit Solutions website and get that credit ready, because the reality is emergencies don't come up 5 days, 10 days before. When it's an emergency, it happens right then and there, and you want to also be credit ready and emergency ready.
We're the parents. It's down to us. We are, our children's final line of defense.
Girl,
when it comes to everything, it's a lot. I know, but it's the truth. So we need to make sure that we're good so that they're good. And we need to lean on any other kind of resources. It's the village. And right now, the village isn't just, our family and friends and things like that. It's, what kind of resources do we have financially that we can tap into so that we can be the best final line of defense.
I love that.
And protection for our kids.
Financial preparedness is crucial, because they literally don't look at anybody else.
But you.
We are the parents now.
It's
it's so crazy, because we could look at our parents before, and now we literally have to look at this space. What's available within this arena that we play in, and what can we lean towards?
Exactly.
And the best thing we can do for ourselves is to be financially responsible on all ends. And I hope that helps you make better financial decisions in managing, whether you're planning for parenting or managing your current parenthood life, because we are in it.
We're in it
forever.
There's no coming out of this.
No, but there is coming out of the other side more responsibly and more financially savvy. Not just for us, like you mentioned, but also for our children.
For our kids. They learn from us. They learn from us.
Not what we say, but what we do.
How we do and what we do. Exactly.
Thank you so much, Aisha, for all these tips.
You.
I need to take notes. Literally, I need to tell my husband this. He just came back from the pharmacy now.
Yeah.
I'm going to find out if you got a generic.
Yeah.
Because that's some sound advice right there. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you to Sanlam Credit Solutions for partnering with us in making better financial decisions as parents. I absolutely love today's episode. You know where to find Aisha on the net, and I'll also add her socials right here, as well as her YouTube channel down in the description box. And of course, if you need help financially, whether it is tips or budgeting, definitely check out the Sanlam Credit Solutions dashboard, link in the description box, and hopefully it is going to help you make better financial decisions. I love you guys so much. Don't forget to subscribe to both our channels if you enjoyed this, and of course give this video a massive thumbs up. We will see you in the next one. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Bye.
Use the Sanlam Credit Dashboard to start open conversations with your partner around credit and building a stronger financial future together.